Hi, good to see you. An old man paid for the purchases of a mother with small children in the supermarket. Days later, he received a call that left him in disbelief in front of the window. Esteban watched the sunrise, the sun beginning to illuminate the sky with a sigh. He began to speak as if Lucía, his deceased wife, was still there listening to him. Lucía, every dawn without you is like a poem without words. The house, so full of silence, screams your absence. Remember, dear, you told me that each new day brought its own light, its own hope, but where do I find that hope now with the mornings as empty as my bed? Esteban let his words float through the kitchen, waiting for an answer that he knew would never come. He turned around, taking the cup of coffee, and continued his monologue, now heading to the kitchen that echoed every his word. The coffee, you always complained that I made it too strong. Esteban, dear, that's not coffee, it's tar, you said with that laugh of yours that filled the room, and I pretended to be offended, just to see you laugh more. Now look, I'm still making the coffee. In the same way, perhaps in the hope that somehow the aroma will bring you back to me, even for a moment. Walking slowly towards the patio, he passed his hand through the plants, talking to them as if they could offer the comfort I was looking for. And you, my dear ones. Plants miss you too. Lucía had a special way with you, always talking, caring. She said that plants could feel, they could listen. They are like us, Esteban. They need love and attention to flourish. She taught me, and here I am trying to follow in her footsteps, talking to you, taking care of you, hoping to keep her memory alive, to keep alive the part of me that left with her. Esteban stopped, looking at the sky now completely illuminated by the sun, the final words coming out almost like a whisper. But what do I do, Lucía, with this love that still burns inside me? Where do I direct this energy, this desire to care now that you are no longer here? Please tell me, because with each passing day I feel that a part of me is fading like the fog of darkness. Tomorrow, disappearing with the sun. Each word of Esteban filled the space around him. His words a bridge between the past full of love and the present tinged with nostalgia, revealing a man who, despite the pain of loss, still seeks light for some way to move forward. Esteban Salazar crossed the still sleeping streets of the city, the first rays of the sun drawing long shadows on the ground. His steps, although slow, they were determined, guiding him to the bakery on the corner that he had frequented for years. The aroma of the freshly brewed coffee and warm bread mixed with the fresh morning air, creating an almost irresistible invitation to start the day. Upon entering, Esteban was greeted by the warmth of the atmosphere and the welcoming smile of Marisol, the owner, who knew him by name. "Good morning, Esteban. Will you want the usual today?" she asked, already reaching for the shelf to take his favorite breads. "Yes, please, Marisol, and maybe I'll add one of his orange cakes. They remind me of Lucía. She always really liked Esteban." He responded in a soft tone, hiding the pang of nostalgia he felt when mentioning his late wife's name while Marisol was preparing the order. Esteban casually leaned against the counter, watching the movement of the street outside. You know, Marisol was thinking this morning about how life changes. Sometimes in ways one would never expect. He began to attract her attention with his reflection. Marisol, she looked at him with an expression of genuine interest on his face. "It is true, Esteban, life is always in no movement, but what exactly made you think about that today?" Esteban sighed, a shadow of sadness passing through his eyes. He's my son, you know. He decided some time ago that he wanted to see the world live far from here. I understand his thirst for adventure, to discover what else is there out there, but sometimes the house feels so quiet and I find myself wondering if he still remembers what the way back is like. Esteban confided, the Clara vulnerability in her voice. Marisol, finishing packing the order, she stopped for a moment, offering Esteban a look of understanding. Esteban, children have their own path to follow, right? But the love of a family creates deep roots. Maybe your son is out there discovering that home has a meaning that he will only understand with time. Marisol may be right, and I hope that, well, at the end of the day, what else can we do besides love and wait? Esteban picked up his package, offering Marisol a grateful smile for her empathy and comforting words. That afternoon back at his house, the sky was a deep blue, without a cloud, a marked contrast with the whirlwind of feelings that stirred Esteban Salazar's heart. In the small backyard, there was a sanctuary of peace that he had cultivated with dedication since Lucía's departure. "Lucía, you always adored sunflowers. You really said that they were like little suns bringing light to the darkest days." Esteban spoke out loud as if waiting for the wind to carry his words to her. He bent down to adjust a small sprout that was struggling to rise towards the sun. His hands were firm but gentle as he. Esteban was working and couldn't help but reflect on the conversation he had with Marisol earlier. The mention of his son had revived a pain that kept a carefully guarded feeling of loss, not only for Lucía, but also for the son who had chosen a path far from home. "I wonder, my son, if you found what you were looking for out there after these years without you to take care of me. I wonder if the adventures and landscapes that you so wanted to see filled that empty space that you felt here." Esteban murmured, lost in his thoughts. There was no bitterness in his voice, only a melancholic curiosity, a silent hope that his son would be happy wherever he was. The sun was beginning to set. Esteban stood up, observing the spectacle of nature, feeling a deep connection with the cycle of life that unfolded before her eyes. Maybe that's it, Lucía. Maybe life is just a series of sunrises and sunsets, each one teaching us something new, showing us how to move forward. Esteban returned to the interior of the house, the serenity of the garden calming his spirit. The night was approaching, and with it the stillness of the house became more present, more palpable. But at that moment he felt a little more at peace with his memories, with the certainty of that somehow both Lucía and his son were with him, guiding him through his days. That night, after the solitary dinner that he shared only with the memories of Lucía, Esteban felt the weight of silence in his house. More than ever the clock on the wall marked the passing time with a constant tick-tack, an audible reminder of the slow passing of the hours. "Lucía, do you remember when the nights were full of conversations and laughter? How I miss that." Esteban spoke to the empty chair in front of him, imagining for a moment that she might suddenly respond on an impulse. Esteban decided to go for a walk at night. "I need fresh air. Maybe that will clear my mind," he said, taking his coat and house key. The streets were quiet, the calm of the night enveloping everything. Walking without a destination, Esteban found himself going through his life about the choices he had made and the paths that led him there. "I did enough. It could have been different," he wondered, his voice echoing in the void of the night. The walk took him to a park that he and Lucía used to visit, an empty bench under a lamp post. He caught his attention and sat down. Esteban looked up at the starry sky, seeking solace in the immensity of the universe. "Lucía, do you think that our son is looking at the same stars where whoever he is?" he questioned, feeling a distant connection with his absent son as the hours passed. Esteban realized that the silence of the night was not as oppressive as he had thought. In fact, there was a certain peace in being alone with his thoughts, an opportunity to reconcile with himself, his memories, and maybe find hope in tomorrow. By returning home, Esteban a lightness that he hasn't experienced in a long time. Maybe it's all good to just sit and reflect on life sincerely, away from everything, and of all to understand how it works. He murmured to himself, a simple but profound realization igniting a spark of contentment in his lonely heart. The morning dawned cloudy when Esteban Salazar decided it was time to restock the pantry. The idea of visiting the local supermarket was not only a necessity, was an attempt to break the monotony that sometimes infiltrated her days. By dressing carefully, she chose a shirt that Lucía had once said would enhance her eyes. Perhaps today it is. One day, he thought, allowing himself a glimmer of optimism as he entered the supermarket. Esteban took a cart and began to walk the aisles with familiarity, selecting the items from his mental list. When he approached the fruit and vegetable section, a soft voice caught his attention. "Excuse me, sir, could you help me reach that can up high? My hands are a little busy right now," said a woman, balancing precariously on the balls of her feet, trying to reach for an item on the highest shelf while holding on to a baby in the other arm. "Of course it wouldn't be a problem," Esteban responded quickly, reaching for the can of peeled tomatoes that she wanted as he handed her the can. He couldn't help but notice the woman's grateful face. "These hallways are built for giants," he apparently joked, trying to alleviate the pain. Weight of the moment with a gentle smile. "Oh, thank you. You have no idea how small gestures like this can make a big difference in someone's day," she responded, the relief evident in her voice. "With 3 little ones at home, every outing is an adventure." Esteban felt understanding. "I imagine that. Yes, my days of running around with children are already over, but I remember well the energy they require. Be sure to take care of yourself." He also advised, the words loaded with a wisdom tempered by time. The conversation flowed naturally while they shared cooking tips and stories about their lives, creating a moment of genuine connection between two strangers. "You know, My wife used to make the best tomato sauce you can imagine. The secret, she said, was choosing the right ones. Correct tomatoes and a little patience, revealed Esteban, a nostalgic twinkle in his eyes. I would love to know that recipe. Cooking is one of the few breaks I have from the madness of everyday life. The woman smiled, grateful for the conversation and the exchange of experiences. The truth is, it's just that I've missed sharing those little moments of life, Esteban confessed as they both slowly headed towards the checkout line, the EMS of their purchases now momentarily forgotten in the midst of the exchange of stories. I think we all do it, she agreed, her gaze reflecting a mixture of gratitude and tiredness. Sometimes it seems that I am so wrapped up in the daily routine that I forget to look around and appreciate these encounters, arriving at the checkout while they place their items on the band. Esteban made an impulsive gesture moved by a deep understanding of her situation. Let me, he said softly, covering her items with his hand. Consider this a small gesture of gratitude for keeping me company. While shopping today, she started to protest, but Esteban interrupted her with a gentle hand gesture. Please accept. I remember the days when any help, no matter how minor, meant the world to me and my wife when we were raising our son. Consider it a gift from someone who understands. I don't know what to say except thank you very much. What is your name? She asked, clearly excited. My name is Esteban Salazar. Esteban smiled, feeling genuine joy for being able to help others. He is always. It has been my passion. I even wanted to open an NGO for that, but they didn't approve me at that time. You shouldn't charge when you do a serious favor. That's very interesting. I would like to help with something too, if possible. I don't have many resources, but I admire people who enjoy helping others, commented the woman. Look, take my number. I think we can talk better about this later. You don't need to contact me if you don't want, but I will be waiting for your call, Esteban responded, handing a paper with his number to the lady. They said goodbye outside the supermarket in the parking lot, the woman with tears in her eyes and Esteban with a lighter heart walking back home reflected on the interaction, feeling revitalized by the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, even in such a small way. Lucía, I think you would have done the same, he muttered to himself after the meeting in the supermarket. When night came, Esteban Salazar arrived home, his heart warmed by the shared experience. He placed the bags in the kitchen, and before putting them away, he decided that he needed a moment for himself in the patio, a place where he always felt closer to Lucía and where he could organize his thoughts sitting in his favorite rocking chair. He reflected on the day. Today was a good day, Esteban began, speaking out loud to the starry night. I helped someone without expecting anything in return. Lucía, you would have liked her, a mother fighting bravely for her children. She made me remember the challenges we faced together. She got up, walking slowly through the garden, touching the leaves of the plants. That they had taken care of this garden together. Each plant here has a piece of our history, and today in some way I feel that I added another chapter to that story. Going back inside, Esteban prepared a cup of tea. While the water boiled, he allowed himself to smile, thinking about the woman from the supermarket. I hope that small gesture has made your day a little easier. In times like these, a little kindness can brighten the darkest days. With tea ready, Esteban settled in the living room, surrounded by photographs and memories. Lucía, and nights like this I miss you so much, but I also feel your presence guiding me, encouraging me to continue doing good, to continue living. He took a book, but instead of reading, he found himself lost in his thoughts. Maybe he should do this more often, not only help, but also allow me to meet new things, stories, and new struggles. Each person has a universe within them, and today I had a glimpse of another. The night progressed, and Esteban finally felt ready to sleep. Before turning off the lights, he stopped in front of a photo of his family. If that woman is as good a mother as you were to our son, Lucía, her children are very, very lucky. Going to bed, Esteban felt a peace that he had not experienced in a long time. Doing something good for someone made me feel so useful that today I am going to sleep happier. I feel like I am inserted back into society, and this time in an even more meaningful way, he murmured before falling into sleep, dreaming of better days with new opportunities to spread kindness and love. That quiet afternoon, while Esteban Salazar tended his garden, the distinctive sound of the telephone cut the silence of his house. Wiping his hands on his apron, he entered, curious. It was not common to receive calls, especially not from unknown numbers. Hello, Esteban, his voice filled with a cautious curiosity. Mr. Salazar, my name is Sofia. I am the woman The one who kindly paid for his purchases at the supermarket the other day, said an exciting but warm female voice. Esteban felt a wave of surprise. Ah, yes, of course, it's good that you contacted me, Sophia. How can I help you? I'm the one who should be helping this time. I just needed to personally thank him for his generosity that day. It was a ray of light in a very dark week in my life. Sophia continued. That week was particularly hard for me. In addition to losing a very dear patient in the hospital where I work as a nurse, something that always shakes me deeply, I was facing financial difficulties. My salary barely covered the bills, and with everything piling up I had to juggle to keep the rent up to date. His generosity that day was not just about shopping, was a momentary relief from a weight on his shoulders. Esteban listened attentively to Sophia's every word, adding layers to his understanding of the silent battles that people face daily. I am so sorry for all of this, Sophia. It is truly admirable to see someone to be so dedicated to others, even when facing their own challenges. Please remember that gestures of kindness are reflections of the good we still have in the world, and what you did today by sharing your story, it is also an act of generosity. Thank you, Mr. Salazar. Hearing you say that means a lot. Your kindness reminded me of the good that still exists. The impact we can have on someone's life, even with small gestures, made me feel a little more hope, Sophia said in a tone of renewal in her voice. We are all, Sophia, helping each other is how we overcome difficult times. Her work as a nurse is a true gift for those who are lucky enough to be under her care, stated Esteban, feeling a unexpected connection with the woman on the other end of the line. Being in nursing is my passion despite the challenges, and Mr. Salazar, your generosity was a timely reminder of why I chose this profession. Sophia concluded now with a note of strength in her speech. Keep doing good, Sophia, and know that you are not alone. If you need something, even if it's just a talk, I'm here, offered Esteban, moved by his story. That means a lot, Mr. Salazar. Thank you very much again for everything, Sophia thanked. Before saying goodbye, Esteban hung up the phone, reflecting on the call, the conversation with Sophia, a complete stranger until that moment, reinforced his belief in kindness and human connection. He returned to the garden thoughtful, but with a sense of satisfaction and renewed purpose. After hanging up the phone, Esteban stood still. For a moment, Sophia's story echoed in her mind, her struggle trying to balance the hard work of nursing with financial difficulties. It had deeply touched her heart. She is doing so much for the children, others even facing his own challenges. He reflected, feeling a growing urgency to do more to help her. Walking slowly back to the garden where the cool night air could offer him clarity, Esteban began to ponder the possibilities. There is something else he can do, something that would really make a difference. It will make a difference to her and her family, he muttered to himself as he sat in the rocking chair looking up at the starry sky. Esteban's mind was racing with ideas when one in particular began to take shape. Maybe I can use my garden. Yes, he thought out loud, the idea gaining strength. I could grow vegetables and herbs not only for myself, but also for Sophia and her family. It would be a way to ensure that they have access to fresh and nutritious food. Motivated by the idea, Esteban spent the night planning. He imagined each garden bed, considering which plants would be most beneficial and how to organize everything efficiently. I need to make a list of what I will need: seeds, maybe more soil and fertilizer, and I need to check the best growing practices for each vegetable and number. Determined to transform her garden into a small livelihood project for Sophia. But how am I going to deliver the vegetables to her? Should I propose a weekly visit, or would it be better to find a meeting point? Esteban reflected, considering the logistical options. I knew I wanted to do this in the most convenient way possible for Sophia, considering her workload. I'm going to talk to her tomorrow, Esteban decided, finally getting up to go in. I'm going to offer my help and see how she prefers us to do this. The important thing is that she knows she is not alone. Before going to bed, Esteban looked at Lucia's portrait, sharing thoughts with her plans. Lucia, I feel like I am on the right path, doing something good, something that you would have supported, he whispered, feeling connected not only to the memory of his wife, but also to the community around him. That night, Esteban slept with renewed purpose, dreaming of the harvest days that would come and of the smiles he hoped to see on the faces of Sophia and his children. Had found a new way to spread kindness, one vegetable at a time. The next morning, after a night of reflection and planning, Esteban Salazar headed to the local supermarket with a heavy heart, with concern for Sophia and her family, but at the same time excited to use his resources to help them. The idea that she, such a dedicated and altruistic person, was facing such severe difficulties did not leave his mind. When he entered the supermarket, he looked for the cashier woman who always attended him. With a smile, she was rearranging some products near the checkout when Esteban approached. Good morning. Have a moment? Esteban began, his voice filled with a soft urgency. "Of course, Esteban. Everything is fine," the woman at the checkout responded, noticing the seriousness in her tone. "It's about Sophia, the lady who I paid for her groceries that time you were here. How is she? Have you talked to her recently?" Esteban asked, eager for news. The woman at the checkout sighed, her expression turning gloomy. "Yes, I talked to her." "Esteban, the news is not. They are good. She received an eviction notice in 3 days from the apartment where she lives. She could not pay the rent. She is trying to find a place for herself and her children, but it is difficult." Esteban felt as if the ground was opening under her feet. "She is going to be evicted. That it's terrible. How are you handling all this?" she asked, the concern evident in her voice. "She is trying to stay strong, especially for her children, but I can tell she is struggling." "Esteban, she mentioned your kindness again. She said that your gesture was one of the few moments of light in these difficult days," the cashier's woman shared, trying to offer some comfort. After the conversation with the cashier's woman, Esteban's concern for Sophia and her situation deepened. He leaned on the counter. For a lost moment, in thoughts, the information that Sophia had received an eviction notice for not being able to pay the rent weighed on her heart. No one should have to go through this, much less someone who dedicates her life to taking care of others. She reflected. Feeling a mixture of sadness and determination walking back home, an idea began to form in his mind, and Esteban pondered the possibility that arose in his thoughts. The house he had shared with Lucía was more than enough for him alone, and the idea of offering Sophia and her children a place to stay without worries about the rent, just asking her to take care of her health, seemed not only logical but necessary. Lucía would have done this without hesitation. Esteban talked to himself, finding comfort and certainty in the memory of his wife. She always believed that we owe a hand when we can make a difference in someone's life. Upon arriving home, Esteban sat with a notebook and a pen, carefully writing down the pros and cons of his idea. "I need to ensure that everything is in order so that Sophia and her children feel safe and welcome here," he planned, considering everything from adjustments in the house to how to approach the conversation with Sophia. He decided. He picked up the phone and dialed Sophia's number. His heart beats a little faster with the anticipation. "Sophia, it's me, Esteban. I have something important to discuss with you. You have a moment? I would like us to meet in the central plaza of the city, so we can talk better." Sophia responded promptly. "Yes, we can talk there. Unfortunately, I can't take too long since the children will soon leave about school. Don't worry, it will be quick. I'll see you in an hour. I'll be punctual," Esteban responded with apparent confidence in his voice. Sophia and Esteban met in the square. Esteban's intention was to explain his proposal to the girl. "Miss," and she did, "I want you to stay at my house while you recover financially. You don't owe me anything." Sophia considers this a gesture of gratitude for your dedication as a nurse and for the good you do for the community. "It will be good to have your company and that of your loved ones. Children and your nursing skills could help me with my health problems. What do you think?" Sophia's excited response was all Esteban needed to hear, to know that he had made the right decision. "Esteban, I don't even know how to thank you. You are an angel. I promise that when we are on our feet again, we will find a way to repay your generosity. Don't worry about that now," Esteban responded, a smile forming on his lips. "What matters is that you and your children have a safe place to call home." The two hugged each other, sealing a contract of friendship that would bring various situations ahead. Full of emotions, both headed home, happy about the new agreement. In the silence of the morning, Esteban Salazar was waiting for the phone, his heart beating. Expectation. He dialed Sophia's number. The voice was firm but full of emotion. "Sophia, is Esteban. I wanted to tell you that the house is ready to receive you and the children. I did everything possible to ensure that they feel welcomed here on the other side." Sophia responded by mixing the voice, nervousness and relief. "Esteban, I don't know how to express my gratitude. We are ready and eager for this new stage. Your kindness has brought us light in a moment of great darkness." A few hours later, meeting at the door, Esteban received Sophia and the children with a warm welcome to your new home. Sophia, with tears in her eyes, said, "You have given us more than a home, Esteban. You have given us hope and strength to continue forward." In the kitchen, in their first moments living together, Sophia looked for ways to give back. "Esteban, I want you to know that I am here to help with everything you need. My experience as a nurse is at your disposal," she offered, determined to do her part as retribution for the favor and affection they were receiving while Sophia and Esteban were talking in the kitchen. Children explored the house, their laughter filling every corner. Seeing them here makes me feel like the house was complete again, even after all these years of total loneliness. Esteban shared a sincere smile illuminating his face. Sophia responded, moved, we are in this together. Esteban, your house is now our house, and we will take care of it with all the love, so that it is a comfortable environment and warmed by a lot of human warmth at all times. As they settled into the new routine, Esteban's house became the laughter of the children in the garden showed a new life given to the house. Sophia's constant presence in the rooms with her delicacy and great subtlety, and the nightly conversations about her day became the new normal. I never imagined that my life would take this turn even more in such a good way. And with such nice people, Esteban confessed during a family dinner. Sophia, briefly holding his hand, smiled, the favor you are doing for us. It is not easy to find nowadays, even more so coming from someone we met so recently. Heart is good and my children adore you. They also said that you were like a grandfather that they never had the opportunity to meet. One sunny morning, Sophia and Esteban were walking through the garden that extended generously around the house. Sophia, with a look like someone who plans, began to speak, his voice full of enthusiasm and knowledge. Esteban, I see here a wonderful opportunity to cultivate not only beauty but health. The plants around us can be more than ornamental, they can be our allies. For example, this here is the calendula, has antifungal and antibacterial properties, excellent for treating small wounds and even insect bites. We can create a small medicinal corner here, a place where nature offers us its support. Esteban listened attentively, fascinated by the idea and by Sophia's knowledge about plants. Continuing the paseo, Sophia stopped before an empty space ideal for the new project. Here, we can plant the chamomile, she suggested, looking at Esteban, is known for its calming properties, and it would be perfect for those days when stress seems to take control, as well as being a beautiful addition to the garden. Its flowers can be used to make tea, helping us relax after a tiring day. Esteban, impressed, nodded, seeing the garden transform into a sanctuary of well-being. Sophia, animated. With Esteban's interest, he continued to share his knowledge. And what can you tell me about lavender? In addition to its pleasant aroma, it can help improve sleep and reduce anxiety. Planting it here will bring beauty and a relaxing aroma that we can enjoy the summer afternoons. Esteban, becoming more and more involved, he already imagined himself surrounded by the soft perfume of lavender, enjoying calmer nights of sleep. As they walked back to the house, Sophia stopped next to a small sunny area. This will be the perfect place for rosemary. Not only does it have an incredible aroma, but it is also excellent for memory and circulation. Imagine, Esteban, the two of us taking care of these plants, learning and growing with them. This garden will be our living laboratory where each plant has its history and its purpose. Esteban, now completely captivated by the idea, smiled, anticipating the days they would spend together taking care of the garden. At the end of the walk, Sophia looked at Esteban with a gleam of satisfaction in her eyes. Esteban, this project was not it's just about planting. It's about creating a space that nourishes our body and soul. Sharing this space and this knowledge with you is something that fills me with great joy. Esteban is moved by the passion and affection of Sophia, felt a deep connection not only with herself, but also with the land that surrounded them. As the morning progressed, Sophia and Esteban, side by side, contemplated the future of their project as father and daughter exchanging words of affection. Sophia, your vision has transformed this garden into something much more meaningful than I could imagine. I look forward to the days when we will reap the fruits of our labor. This garden, just as our friendship, will flourish, said Esteban, looking towards the horizon where the garden medicinal would begin to take shape. They shared a moment of silence, anticipating the joint growth that awaited them both in the garden and in their lives. During lunch, while the homemade flavors mixed with the quiet conversation, Sophia's eldest son, driven by the curiosity that had been growing up since they moved into Esteban's house, asked an unexpected question. Esteban, did you ever have children? Where are they? The question seemed to suspend time, bringing a sudden silence to the room. Sophia gave a disapproving look at her son. Don't be rude, my son. Apologize, she said. Esteban didn't seem so bothered by the question and responded, it's not all right, really. It's a part of my life that I don't talk about much. But you are from, in a way, he is part of the family now, and it is only fair that they know. He took a deep breath, preparing to reveal a chapter of his life that he would rarely have. Yes, I had a son. His name is Daniel. We were very close, but as he grew up, our paths began to change. Diverge, I had a vision for his life, an expectation based on traditions and values that he considered important. Daniel, on the other hand, had his own dreams, his own aspirations that unfortunately I did not know how to value at that moment. He paused, looking at the plate in front of him, as if they were emerging with each word. The tension between what I expected of him and what he wanted for himself grew until one day, after a particularly tough argument, Daniel decided to leave and left a note saying he needed finding his own path away from the expectations that I had for him. Esteban's eyes met those of Sophia's eldest son. It was one of the most difficult days of my life. Over time, I realized that true love is not to mold someone in our own image, but to support and love that person for who they are, even if their dreams take us far. Sophia, moved by Esteban's honesty and vulnerability, she extended her hand on the table, touching it in a gesture of support. Esteban is very valiant on your part to share this with us. Your love for Daniel, it is evident, and so is your pain, but look, you are here with us now, sharing your life, your home. You are doing for us what you could not do for him, and that is a wonderful thing. Esteban nodded with a melancholic smile on your lips. I have learned, perhaps too late for Daniel, that family is about acceptance and unconditional support, but with you I have the opportunity to do things differently, and that gives me hope. The conversation, although born from a simple question, it became a moment of deep sharing, bringing Esteban and Sophia's family even closer at a lunch surrounded by love and understanding. In the days that followed the revealing lunch, a subtle change began to manifest in Esteban, who always he was proud of his independence and vigor. Even in old age, he began to show signs that he was not as well as he would like to believe. Sophia, with her attentive gaze and experience as a nurse, was the first to notice the slowness in his movements and the frequent expression of discomfort that he tried to hide. One morning, while they were trying together to transplant some of the band's clothes in the garden, Esteban had to stop, leaning as if he were looking for support. Sophia, I think I'll need a moment to breathe a little, but it's nothing serious, he said, he trying to mask his labored breathing with a weak smile. Sophia worriedly left her gardening tools and quickly approached Esteban. You are pale, let's go inside, you need to rest inside. House. While Esteban lay down on the sofa, Sophia was looking for fresh water and a damp cloth to place on her forehead. You have tried too hard, Esteban. We need to take better care of you without making too much repetitive effort, she insisted, her voice full of concern. Esteban, for a moment, allowed himself to be cared for. A moment, silent testimony to the trust and bond they had formed. In the following days, Sophia took a more active role in Esteban's care by monitoring his diet, making sure he took his medications, and insisting that he do routine exams. Is nothing serious, Esteban, just be careful with your health, something that we should all have, and it should be a little older as age advances, he said, trying to relieve the tension with a smile. Esteban, although reluctant to admit his vulnerability, I knew that Sophia's presence and care were now essential components of their daily routine. One afternoon, while they rested on the porch, Esteban looked at Sophia with gratitude. I never thought she would need care like that, but I am happy that she did. You being the one by my side at this moment has been a blessing for me, Sophia expressed, her voice full of emotion. Sophia, holding her hand, responded tenderly, taking care of you is the least I can do. Esteban, you opened your house and your heart to us. Now it's my turn to give back. On a quiet afternoon, while Sophia and the younger children had gone out shopping, Esteban called Lucas, Sophia's eldest son, to accompany him to the small office that he rarely used, located in the quietest corner of the house. Casa. Lucas, curious about the unexpected, followed Esteban, wondering about the purpose of that solemn meeting. Once they were settled, Esteban opened an old desk drawer and took out a diary with a cover worn by time. Lucas, this is a diary that I started writing when I was younger, began Esteban, his voice full of emotion. In him, I recorded not only the day-to-day events, but also my thoughts, my hopes, and the learnings I had with many that I lived. I wrote about the challenges I faced with my ex-wife and my son, and I want him to be yours. Lucas, moved by the revelation, accepted the diary that Esteban extended to him. Why are you giving this to me? Esteban asked, his curiosity mixed with a hint of concern. Esteban sighed, searching for the right words. I want you to have this diary because you represent the future of this family. I see in you a wisdom and maturity that goes beyond your years, Lucas, and I hope that this diary can be of some use to you in your learning about life when I am no longer here. May you use these words to remind everyone, including yourself, that everything in this life has a solution. Lucas, holding the journal, reverently looked at Esteban with a new understanding. I will treasure this, Esteban, and I promise that the things written here will not be forgotten. He has been a mentor, a friend, and in a certain way, a very good grandfather for me. This diary will be a way to keep your wisdom and your love always alive between us." At that moment, in the silence of the office, a bridge was built. Unbreakable between Esteban and Lucas, symbolized by the passing of the diary, was an act of trust and love, a legacy of words and feelings destined to guide Luke and his family for the years to come. On a cloudy morning, Esteban felt an unusual weakness as he tried to get up from the bed. Sophia, who had arrived to help him with his morning tasks, immediately noticed his difficulty, approached cautiously, observing him with a worried expression. "Esteban, today you are paler, and it seems that you are having difficulties to move. How do you feel?" she asked, her voice soft but full of concern. Esteban tried to smile, not wanting to cause alarm. "Ah, Sophia, it must be just accumulated fatigue. Nothing that a good tea and a little rest won't solve," he responded, trying to minimize the situation without. However, Sophia was not convinced. With years of experience as a nurse, she knew how to recognize the signs when something was not right. Esteban insisted that you need to be examined by a doctor. "This does not seem to be just tiredness. I am going to call to the hospital and make an appointment. It's better to be safe," she insisted, picking up the phone before Esteban could protest. The consultation at the hospital revealed the need for a more in-depth evaluation. The doctor, after a preliminary examination, expressed his concern. "Mr. Salazar, we need to perform some additional tests. The condition may be more serious than it seems. We will keep it under observation," said the doctor, looking seriously at Esteban and then at Sophia, who was holding Esteban's hand, offering her silent support. In the following days, while Esteban remained in the hospital, Sophia continued with her visits, bringing not only the family presents that he appreciated so much, but also stories from day to day to keep his spirits up. "You know, Esteban, the children ask about you every day. They made a card that says, 'To our hero, you are very loved.'" Sophia, on one of her visits, trying to get a smile from Esteban. Esteban, moved by Sophia's words and by the affection of the children, felt a mixture of gratitude and sadness. "Sophia, to say that I am grateful for everything you have done for me would be an understatement. This situation has made me realize how blessed I am to have you in my life. You completed a part of my life that was missing," he answered, his voice weak but full of emotion. After weeks of struggle in the hospital, the delicate balance of Esteban's health began to decline irrevocably. On a quiet night with the full moon illuminating the starry sky, Esteban, surrounded by Sophia and his children, held his hands with a weak grip but full of love. "Have brought so much joy to my last days. Thank you for being my family," he murmured, a serene smile on his lips before closing his eyes for the last time. Esteban's death saddened Sophia and the children, who shed tears of emotion. Sophia, even still not believing in Esteban's sudden departure, said, looking at him, "that you find even more peace in your departure, Esteban. You were a father to me. During this time you took care of my children as if they were your grandchildren, and you showed your immense generosity." The family held a minute of silence in respect for Esteban's departure, full of emotions and memories that brought back the good times they had together since the meeting in the supermarket. Days after the funeral, a meeting was called by Esteban's lawyer to discuss her will, a document she had secretly prepared in the last months of her life in the house where the family continued to live while they looked for another place to stay. Sophia, still trying to find the strength to dealing with the loss, he sat next to his children, waiting to hear about the distribution of Esteban's personal assets. To his surprise, the lawyer began to read the will and shockingly revealed where Esteban's inheritance had gone. "I want my house and much of my monetary values go to my family. From the bottom of my heart," began the testament that gave me more love and joy in the last years of my life than I could have ever expected. "Is my wish that this inheritance helps you build a future brilliantly free of the financial worries that afflicted them so much before our first meeting. I leave my son Daniel percent of the money I have accumulated throughout my life, and I hope he knows how to use it for good things in his life." Sophia, stunned, struggled to process the news. Tears of gratitude and sadness mixed on her face as she looked at her children, who shared the same expression of amazement and excitement. "I can't believe he did this for us," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Esteban thought about us until the end. Esteban's generosity, even after his departure, was a testament to the deep love and unbreakable bond he had formed with Sofia, and their children knew that the best way to honor his memory would be to live in a way that reflected the values and lessons that Esteban had taught. Shared with them love, generosity, and the importance of caring for each other, the lawyer continued with a shocking announcement. "I must inform you that when I contacted Daniel to discuss the will meeting, he refused. Immediately participate and renounced his part of the inheritance, with this % of the assets left by Esteban remains for you." Miss Sofia and her children, surprised by the words of the lawyer and the generous inheritance left by Esteban. The life of Sofia and her children took a new direction that would honor the memory and values of Esteban in a deeply meaningful way. Inspired, Lucas proposed an idea: we should use the part of the inheritance rejected by Daniel to create an NGO dedicated to helping people in vulnerable situation. "We could randomly call them Bonds of Hope," said Sofia's eldest son. The NGO quickly became a beacon of hope in the community, offering mental and physical health support programs and professional training initiatives. Using her experience as a nurse, Sofia led health program while his children were actively involved in the daily operations and expansion of educational programs. Lucas, particularly moved by Esteban's legacy, he took a leadership role in the NGO, channeling his gratitude and admiration for the man he considered a grandfather into concrete actions that transformed lives. "Each life we managed to touch with Salazar, Bonds of Hope, are a testimony of the love and kindness he taught us in life," she said at one of the community events, her voice full of passion and emotion. The years passed and the NGO grew, becoming a model of charity and community support. Sofia, although she always missed Esteban, she found comfort and purpose in the work of the NGO, seeing it as the continuation of the legacy of kindness and generosity that Esteban had started. His children, now adults, carried the lessons learned with Esteban in their hearts, applying them in both their personal and professional lives. They decided to continue living in the same house while maintaining the functional garden, a solid memory of the days with the man who had left a great and powerful mark on their lives. The story of Esteban, Sofia, and his children intertwined with creation and success. Salazar's Bonds of Hope became an inspiration in the community and beyond, demonstrated that even in the most challenging circumstances, it is possible to create a wave of positivity and change by honoring those we love through actions that reflect their values and dreams. As well as Esteban, Salazar's memory lived not only in the loving memories of his chosen family, but also in the countless lives impacted by the NGO that bore his name. Salazar Bonds of Hope became a symbol of love, hope, and generosity, illuminating the path to a better future for all those it reached. If you have enjoyed this story, we invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support drives us to continue sharing exciting stories almost daily. Don't miss the next one. Amazing narrative that is about to reach your screen. We greatly appreciate your support. See you soon.